Welcome to Perspectives in Business. I am your host, Juan Carlos Giraldo, from Boston, United States. Today, in this episode, we will tackling a topic that's become a cornerstone for modern executives: ESG, environmental, social, and governance. This episode focuses on how executives can strategically integrate environmental, social, and governance (ESG) principles into their business operations to drive sustainable growth, manage risk, and enhance stakeholder trust. I will share with you why ESG is no longer optional, how it's reshaping corporate strategy, and what actionable steps you can take or we can take to integrate it effectively. So let's get started. So why ESG matters now? If you are an executive, you have likely heard the term ESG around in boardrooms, investor calls, or even customer feedback. But why has it become such a big deal? Well, one side obviously is politics, but let's see from another side. Simple, because ESG is a framework that evaluates how a company manages its environmental impact, social responsibilities, and governance practices. It's not just about doing good, it's about doing smart businesses. Investors are putting trillions into ESG funds. A 2024 report from Bloomberg Intelligence projected that global ESG assets will hit $53 trillion by 2026. Regulators as well are tightening rules with frameworks like the European Union Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, pushing for transparency, which is critical with these metrics. Additionally, we will probably think about customers. Customers, they are voting with their wallets because they are looking for brands and companies that align with their values. This is critical right now. But here, there is a kicker for executives. ESG is not just a compliance checkbox. It is a strategic lever. Companies with strong ESG practices see lower capital costs, better risk management, and even higher valuations. McKinsey found that firms with robust ESG programs can achieve up 20% higher profitability in some sectors. So how do we make ESG work for our business? One of them probably is strategic integration of ESG. For executives, the challenge is not just understanding ESG, it is integrating it without disrupting operations or alienating stakeholders. Let's look at 3 key steps to make ESG a strategic asset. First, align ESG with your core business strategy. This is not about slapping a green logo in your website. It's about identifying where ESG intersects with your value chain. For example, a manufacturing firm might focus on reducing emissions on its supply chain to cut costs and meet regulatory demands. Unilever, for example, did this with its Sustainable Living Plan, which not only reduced environmental impact but also drove 70% of its growth from sustainable products by 2023. Speaking about Unilever, I would like to recommend to read the book Net Positive by Paul Polman and Andrew Weston, How Courage Companies Thrive by Giving More Than They Take. Very, very interesting book. Second, measure a report with precision. Executives need data to make decisions, and ESG is no different. Invest in tools to track metrics like a carbon footprint or governance compliance. The most important is not just collect data, use it to tell a story. BlackRock's 2025 Investment Stewardship Report emphasized that companies with clear data-driven ESG disclosures attract more capital. So whether it's Scope 1 emissions or board diversity, it's most important, quantify your progress and communicate them transparently. Third, engage your stakeholders. ESG is not just a solo act. Your employees, customers, and investors need to be on board. Take, for example, Salesforce. They tied executive compensation to ESG goals, like achieving net zero emissions. This aligned leadership incentives with long-term sustainability boosting employee morale and investor confidence. ESG have plenty of challenges. Of course, one of them is politics. But now let's address the elephant in the room. ESG is not always a smooth sailing. One big challenge is the perception of greenwashing, greenwashing, and all the greens that we know. Unfortunately, many companies do that. To avoid this, let's be authentic. If you are early in your ESG journey, admit it and share your roadmap. Patagonia's transparency about its supply chain challenge has only strengthened its brand. This is really important. Another hurdle, for example, is cost. Yes, ESG initiatives like a renewable energy or diversity program require upfront investment, but think long term. A 2024 Harvard Business Review study showed that companies investing in ESG saw a between 10 and 50% reduction in operational risk over 5 years. From the United States Securities and Exchange Commission disclosure rules to the European Union taxonomy, the landscape is fragmented. Many experts around the world in ESG and sustainability, they suggest build a dedicated ESG task force or hire a chief sustainability officer to navigate this complex journey and keep your strategy agile. So what can we do tomorrow to make ESG a competitive advantage? I try to get some suggestions, I would say, from different books, articles that I read, and here are 3 quick wins. 1. Conduct an ESG audit. Map your current environmental, social, and governance practices against industry benchmarks. Tools like the Sustainability Accounting Standards Boards can guide you. Set one bold, measurable goal, whether it's cutting emissions by 20% or achieving gender parity in leadership by 2030. A clear target rallies your team and stakeholders. The third one is communicate progress regularly. Use annual reports, best investor calls, or even social media to share your ESG wins. Transparency builds trust. Share this progress, and people and customers and stakeholders and the industry itself will be so happy to see your outcomes. Before wrapping up, I would like to add that ESG is not just a trend. It is a fundamental shift in how business create value. By integrating it strategically, you are not just meeting expectations, you are positioning your company for resilience and growth. We know that ESG is facing a lot of challenges, and one of them is politics, of course. So very polarized topic. I would like to recommend reading Holding the Line, a playbook for ESG leadership in hostile terrain by Ioannis Ioannou, professor at London Business School. He described this playbook as a tool for reasserting values and not caving in when political and cultural winds shift. Tool for navigating this moment with long-term strategic clarity. I am Juan Carlos Giraldo from Boston, United States. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and thank you so much, everyone.